7. Something must be done immediately to address the housing inequality experienced by Catholics in North Belfast. That's the key message in a report produced by the Participation and the Practice of Rights organisation. Among its findings are that a Catholic applying for social housing in North Belfast will wait on average 23 months compared to 12 months for a Protestant. And Kate Ward is the PPR's Policy and Research Support Officer, and she joins me here this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
When you take a look at those figures, it does seem startling that a Catholic may have to wait twice as long as a Protestant, is what you say. Where does this evidence come from?
Well, all of the information that we have in our report, all of the data, comes from the Housing Executive themselves. Equality Can't Wait, this report that we have published, chronicles over a decade of failed initiatives by a range of different public authorities to tackle the housing inequality which largely impacts the Catholic community in North Belfast. Now, what you'll see in the report is that despite all of this evidence, and this evidence is recognised at the United Nations level, at the Council of Europe level, it's in the statistics themselves, despite this, the response from public authorities here has been to either ignore the problem completely, dismiss it, or to play around with the statistics to make it look like things have gotten better when the reality has actually stayed the same.
You say that, but we have had a range of politicians and authorities accept that there is a problem in North Belfast in terms of housing. For example, the Minister for Social Development, Nelson McCausland, has highlighted the housing issues in North Belfast, including the need to build more homes, improve housing conditions. I mean, changing something like housing takes a long amount of time, doesn't it?
Well, I accept that there has been a lot of rhetoric. What we have seen, though, very clearly in terms of the impact of these policies and the impact of all this discussion has been that things have stayed the same. Currently in North Belfast, 76% of the waiting list are from the Catholic community. So that indicates that things haven't gotten better.
We do have a statement from the Department for Social Development, and it says it has invested over £358 million of public money through the Housing Executive in North Belfast, with £222 million spent on new builds since 2001. In this period, 2,494 additional new social homes have been provided. That all sounds like big numbers to me. And they also say that if you take a look at social housing across Northern Ireland, actually it's had a pretty decent share of that.
Well, if you actually take a look at more numbers, I can give you more. Between 2000 and 2007, the Housing Executive had a massive strategy in North Belfast. It cost the public taxpayer $133 million. Now, in terms of impact there, what you actually saw was that the numbers of people from the Catholic community on the waiting list actually grew by 40%. So what we're saying is we're looking at all of the range of actions, all of the range of initiatives taken by the Housing Executive, taken by the Minister, taken by a range of public authorities, and saying that they are failing to change the problem because they are failing to examine housing need and to take action to target that need and to tackle the inequality. There
is a danger that we get into a battle of statistics and start to quote numbers at each other, but in terms of this, tackling this and getting this properly sorted, I mean, how would you suggest? I mean, Girdwood has been mentioned time and time again, and it's mentioned in your report here. Was Girdwood not a good thing in terms of just providing more houses in North Belfast?
Well, Girdwood has actually only resulted in 60 new homes for North Belfast, which, given the massive need in North Belfast, is a drop in the ocean. What Girdwood illustrates, though, is that the preference for housing in North Belfast by the Department, by the Minister, by a successive range of public authorities is for shared housing. And when you try to build a shared future based on inequality, one of the things that this report shows is that it just doesn't work. Currently, we have a situation where a Catholic mother in North Belfast with children will be housed in a temporary hostel and will probably end up staying there for 3 years because of this housing problem. So that's, when you remove the statistics, that's the real impact on people. And I'm very sort of uncomfortable, I would say, with any public policy initiative which is about a shared future, which automatically excludes the most disadvantaged here. We have 76% of people from the Catholic community on the waiting list, and at the minute they're excluded from that shared future.
OK, but at the same time, when you look at what is being discussed up at the Executive, for example, on that subject of shared future, shared space would seem like something that's a pretty good idea, and it does take time for something like that to bed in. It means you have to work on projects a long way in advance. Is it difficult for an organisation, for yourself, to come out and say, listen, actually shared space isn't a good idea? Because presumably in the long term it is a good idea.
Well, no one's saying that shared space isn't a good idea. What we're saying is that you cannot build shared space without first tackling inequality. And PPR aren't the only people who have said that. You know, you have that recorded as evidence from a long range of different initiatives. You have that based in the primacy of the Good Friday Agreement, which recognised that in order to build good relations, you first had to tackle inequality. You know, Good Friday Agreement was a promise to people experiencing disadvantage, like those in chronic need of housing, that said, you will be our priority and no longer just an inconvenient truth, which is why we're calling on the Minister and a range of other public authorities with responsibility for housing to examine the issues around inequality and to launch a fully resourced, timetabled strategy which tackles that, because anything else just isn't good enough anymore.
I have no doubt that this is a subject we will return to, but for the moment, Kate Ward, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.